In this lesson, we'll kind of clean up the other items from the format worksheets and workbooks objective here. We will look at the worksheet order, page setup, themes, and also adding headers and footers to our worksheets. So speaking of order, we will take these in order. We'll start with the worksheet order. Very straightforward to do. All we have to do is click and drag. So if we click and drag, notice that we have this little arrow, this little down arrow. It's very small, but it's very easy to rearrange the sheets in our workbook. Click and drag, and when we let go, we have just defined a new sequence for our worksheets in our workbook. Now, I'll use that very same technique to rearrange things the way they were before, and let's go to page setup. The page setup is done from the page layout, and what they're talking about here with page setup is how your spreadsheet will look like when it's printed out, if it's ever printed out. A lot of spreadsheets, because they're just used as data analysis tools, they're never really printed out. But if you are concerned with this, and of course, this is low-hanging fruit in terms of a testable concept, you can do all this from the page setup grouping under page layout tab. So in terms of setting the margins, setting the orientation, notice that the default is the landscape orientation for your spreadsheets. You can change to portrait, of course. You can change the size of the paper that you're printing to, and so on and so on. We will touch on this a little bit more as we get to creating the actual printed output from our worksheets. Probably the most important one is going to be the orientation and the margins. And you can see that these are things that are just pre-configured for you. If you want to set them to have wide margins or narrow margins, you just click the items that are in this dropdown. If you want to create custom margins, you click, and then you define the custom margins using this dialog box. Again, it's pretty straightforward and probably shouldn't present too much of a challenge if you have used other Office applications. Same thing when it comes to applying themes. Just know where the themes are. If you go to that page layout tab, the themes are right here. So if you want to change the themes or the colors or the fonts that are used in the worksheets in your workbook, then you can click on the drop down and you can do something like change it to a gallery theme. The live preview will show you what those changes to the fonts and colors might look like. I'll go ahead and undo that as well. Now, what may be the most challenging thing is applying a header and a footer. And why it might be most challenging here in this list of exam objectives is that it's a little bit hard to find. If you go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, this is where you will insert headers and footers. Although depending on your screen resolution, for example, my screen resolution, just because I don't have the thing at full screen right now, you can't see where you would add a header and footer. And it's from here. It's from this text dropdown. So if you click on that, you see that there we can get to the header and footer. And once I do that, it actually switches my view. And I'll show you how to undo that in just a moment. But now I get the header and footer tools tab added to the ribbon, and specifically the design tab. And now I can use these areas to insert things like the page numbers, the number of pages, the current date, time, the file path, and you get the idea. So we'll just click on the number of pages, and this will update automatically as I continue to work with the worksheet here. This is a dynamic field. So obviously this can be a good way to add some information like a timestamp or a company logo. And if you want to switch between the header and footer, use this navigation button right here. Go to footer, and then you can go to header. So you could also use these items right here to add other information, such as the title of the page that you're currently on or the worksheet you're currently on. So just common header and footer information can be gotten to from that dropdown. Now, that will change the view. And now next time you work with the worksheet, you see the header and footer. And if that's annoying, then go to the View tab of the ribbon and change the workbook view from page layout back to normal. And it will remove your view, your instant view of the header and footer information that you've added. So there it is, continuing to build our skills with formatting worksheets and workbooks.